everyone. I'm your host, Patty Giarrusso, and this is Let's Talk Pets on Society Bites Radio. Today, we welcome back to the show Marilyn KNAPP, and she hasn't been with us for a while. She was one of my first guests when I started doing this show. And Marilyn is the director of Lost Dogs of Texas, but most recently, she's been instrumental in a new organization between Lost Dogs of America and Helping Lost Pets, who have joined forces to provide a free service, which is a microchip hunting group. And what they do, they're an organization that researches dead-end microchips. So when a pet is found through Helping Lost Pets and Lost Dogs of America, many times the microchips have dead-end information or they're unregistered. So Marilyn has started helping and training and working with shelters and animal control facilities and different organizations like that to try to get everyone on board with this. Let people help you with dead-end chips. And it's really, really an amazing undertaking. And I'm glad to have her here today to talk about it. So welcome to the show, Marilyn.
Well, thank you, Patty. Hello to everybody.
Yeah, so I know this is fairly recently started, but when was it actually started?
We've been doing this. Last year we had a full year of doing it, and we had several months before that. But this what we're doing actually goes back to when I was helping out after Katrina, and at that time we didn't have very many microchipped animals, but I was given access to a database that had addresses where the animals were picked up. So using a crisscross directory, something that's now extinct thanks to the internet, but it was where you could look up the address and find the person's name. We would find the people's names. We would find them through the Red Cross because many of them had evacuated. We were tracing down people all over the country. So this is kind of the genesis of what we're doing with microchips. Of course, with the microchip, we have a little more information to go on. But I think that's what really made me interested in this.
Yeah, and I mean, you were and did some amazing work during Katrina because of, I mean, that was an absolute, I'm sure, nightmare for you and all the pets and the families. So it's really interesting that that led to this and how it came about, because this, I talked about this a little earlier, that microchips around our two counties, I'm going to say are about, oh, it's awful, probably 80% of them are, I'm going to combine it, unregistered / dead end, you know, and that is terrible, absolutely terrible. And you need a lot of time and a lot of research to look these up. So why don't you talk about how Microchip Hunters operates and what you do to help people with this situation?
Sure. Well, I think it's kind of the norm that these chips are not registered or they're out of date. They have information from landlines or cell phones. So when confronted with that, shelter staff really, they don't have the time, or veterinary staff, may not have the time to try to find the owner. I mean, you call a phone number, somebody says, hey, they don't live here, I don't know that person. Or it goes to the dreaded dial tone, the beep, 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 that means nobody is on the other end. We decided what we're doing is taking our expertise. You can use like a disconnected phone number. You can look it up through, there's fee service databases that have information on people. They're varying quality, but you can look up the person, find out their relatives, find out other phone numbers, and you just take it from there. You just basically call people and say, I'm trying to get a dog home. This is the description, and so forth. But the problem starts with the microchips not being registered. And I've noticed that as shelters are understanding the importance, sometimes shelters would even be implanting the microchips and not doing very much for telling people about the registration. But now when they're seeing that this can be an aid to them, I think there's more emphasis. but it's still a big problem. I did a survey once of shelters asking how many microchips didn't help them get home, how many were problems, and I got answers from 10% to 90%.
I believe it.
So,
yeah. I mean, every time it seems to me like if somebody goes with a found pet and has it scanned and they report back that, oh, they called the owner, I'm just waiting like, okay, did they really call the owner or did they call somebody else? And then 5 or 10 minutes later, it's, oh, they're coming to pick the pet up, and I'm like, yes, because it seems like it's that's the rare event versus, oh, well, it's unregistered, or it's, nobody answered. They said it's not theirs, and it's so frustrating because the technology or whatever you want to say is there implanted in that pet to keep that pet safe. So it should be operational, or whatever word you want to say, that it does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't.
People just don't understand the process. They think that they've gotten their dog microchip, that the process is complete and their animal is safe. They don't realize that all the microchip is a number that will connect to a database. And if there's no information in the database, it's as if you have a car without a registration. The number on the license plate would take you nowhere. It wouldn't show who the owner is. I mean, it's nothing without all that other backup information.
Right. That's true. And I mean, sometimes, I'm sure you hear this too, that it costs $19.99 or $24.99, or if they want to do a yearly, I mean, the one I did for my last dog, it was, I think, $79 whatever to do a lifetime registration. But you have to consider this: if I didn't want to pay $79, but I also would not take the chance, that if Carly, because as we call her Crazy Carl, she's a bolter, and I did not want to take a chance with her, because what if the year passed and I forgot, and I didn't do it, or I decided, I don't want to do it right now, it's okay, whatever, because that's what people do. They think, oh, it's okay, she never goes anywhere without me. But instead I decided I better do it. And it's more important to do that and spend $79 at that time, or the $20 or $25, than to pay, $100, $200 if your pet gets picked up at the shelter. Now, our shelter, it can be upwards of $200, and then it goes up every day if the pet is not picked up.
Yes, all these things are barriers to getting animals back home. The complexity of the process, the high shelter fees, the fees that you have to pay the microchip company. I just wanted to stress that about the fees. It's kind of hard to find out who's charging and how much they're charging. But if you have registered your animal and your registration information is correct, in other words, your name and number and address are good on that chip, you don't have to pay anything to make sure that your animal will come home. The only time that you have to pay is if your information has changed. Then you may have a company tell you, well, there's going to be a fee for that. And there's just no way around it at that point, because a microchip that's connected to bad information is just, it's like that car with the license plate that's not connected to anything. You won't get your car back. You won't get your animal back. There are some free options out there, and found.org is a very good one. It's the Mickelson's nonprofit foundation. You can always register your chip with them for free. But I also advise people who have chips with the mainstream companies to register with their company, because sometimes a vet, for example, Home Again chips start with $9.85. All of theirs have that number at the beginning. A shelter employee who sees $9.85 may not look to find out if the person's registered somewhere else. They're just going to call Home Again. And if you haven't made sure that Home Again has your information right, it's not going to help you that you registered somewhere else.
Right. Yeah,
But
and that's why
again,
I
it's
think
just more complexity.
yeah, and I think that's why we also, I know me, lately I've been pushing that make sure they check the chip at petmicrochiplookup.org, because if they are dual registered, like you just said, with the main company that 985 Home Again, and they didn't do it, and they went ahead and did the free registry, if they don't use that microchiplookup.org, they're not going to know about it.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. I had one last week where the dog had been registered at 4 different companies.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Turned out it was the same owner, but surprising.
Well, I bet in that case they probably didn't understand what was happening. Instead of understanding that they could just register it with the main company that the chip was from, they probably thought they were doing the right thing by registering it with as many companies as they could think of, I guess. I don't know why else they would do it.
Well,
Sure.
sometimes, say your one cat is registered with 24 Pet Watch, and then you get another cat, and it might have an AKC chip. But maybe you think, oh, well, I want all my cats to be registered at the same company. Mm-hmm. You can register any number at any company, especially if they charge a fee. They're happy to take a fee for that. So that's part of what happens. Otherwise, yeah, it's sort of inexplicable.
Yeah. I know the whole microchip thing, sometimes referred to as the microchip maze. Because there is sometimes you just sit there and shake your head because there is no rhyme or reason, but I think we just press the point that your pet should be microchipped and you should get it checked every single year, scanned at your pet's annual checkup or just at a shelter, wherever you can get it scanned, and check the chip and make sure the information is registered and accurate. I had one that our area code here is 941. And I had one come back 914. And of course I tried it, but it gave you that ring that we hate, that fast ring.
Yes.
And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to try 941. And it was 941. It was just a typo. So that's another reason to confirm that your information is correct, because people make mistakes. Whoever typed it in just made a typo. And if you check your information to verify that, things like that won't get missed.
Right. I mean, what can go wrong with a 15-digit chip number and several 10-digit phone numbers? I mean, it's just going to happen. One thing that pet owners can do if they're curious, hearing this discussion, is if you go to petmicrochiplookup.org and put in your animal's microchip, it should show whether or not the chip is registered. And it will show you which company your chip is registered at. And you can call that company, and you should call the company and verify your registration information. They're not going to charge you anything to verify it. And then you'll find out, did somebody, fat finger your phone number and do 911 instead of 941.
Absolutely. When I saw that, I just thought, oh boy, what another good reason for people to check, because maybe, I know it's registered. I definitely did it myself for life, but that's okay. Still go in and check it. Now, our Humane Society, Terry from the clinic manager told me something. They register all their microchips themselves for the people to make sure that it's registered. Now, they might make a mistake because, hey, I make typos every day, but that's one reason. So what she does is she sends them an email afterwards, and she tells them to go on, set up their little portal, because you can add all kinds of stuff on some of them, vet records, pictures, whatever you want to add. It's a little portal for your pet. And she always tells people to add a new emergency contact or add an emergency contact, and one not in our area because of hurricanes, because she uses that